On June 30th, 1934, the Night of the Long Knives took place when Nazi Chancellor Adolf Hitler, urged on by Hermann Goering and Heinrich Himmler, ordered a series of extrajudicial executions intended to consolidate his power and alleviate the German military's concerns about the role of Ernst Röhm and the Sturmabteilung, the Nazis' paramilitary organization known informally as the Brown Shirts. Nazi officials claimed that the killings were necessary to stop an alleged SA coup led by Ernst Röhm, a claim known as the Röhm Putsch. In reality, the purge was carried out mainly by the SS, the SD, and the Gestapo, with support from Hermann Goering's police forces. Many SA leaders were targeted, including Röhm, along with other political figures such as Gregor Strautzer, former Chancellor Kurt von Schleicher, and Gustav Ritter von Kahr. Eliminating these individuals also helped improve the Nazi government's image among Germans who disliked the SA's violent behavior. Hitler viewed the SA as a threat because of its independence, growing power, and Röhm's desire to merge it with the German army under his command. He also wanted to reassure military leaders who feared the SA and opposed Röhm's calls for a second revolution that would redistribute wealth. The purge additionally allowed Hitler to remove political opponents, critics of his regime, and personal enemies. At least 85 people were murdered during the purge, though some estimates place the number much higher. More than 1,000 others were arrested. The event strengthened Hitler's control over Germany by securing the loyalty of the military and demonstrating that the Nazi government could act above the law. Courts and government officials quickly approved the killings, helping Hitler consolidate power and establish his dictatorship. In a speech to the Reichstag on July 13, 1934, he even described himself as the supreme guardian of justice for the German people. 70 years ago, on June 30, 1956, TWA Flight 2, a Lockheed L-1049A Super Constellation, and United Airlines Flight 718, a Douglas DC-7 mainliner, were involved in a mid-air collision over Grand Canyon National Park, Arizona. The Constellation fell into the canyon while the DC-7 slammed into a cliff, killing all 128 people aboard the two aircraft. It was the first commercial airline disaster to result in more than 100 deaths. Both planes had taken off from Los Angeles International Airport only minutes apart, with one bound for Chicago and the other for Kansas City. The collision occurred in uncontrolled airspace, where pilots were responsible for avoiding other aircraft by maintaining visual separation. The tragedy exposed serious shortcomings in the air traffic control system and led to significant reforms in aviation safety and traffic management. On June 30, 2013, protests occurred in Egypt, marking the first anniversary of Mohamed Morsi's presidency. The political crisis in Egypt reached its peak with the 2013 military overthrow of President Mohamed Morsi after massive nationwide demonstrations demanded his resignation. Much of the opposition was organized by Tamarod, a movement that began a petition campaign in April 2013 calling for Morsi to step down. Tamarod claimed to have gathered more than 22 million signatures by June 30th, although independent verification was never provided. Supporters of Morsi launched a rival campaign, Tagarod, which similarly claims millions of signatures without independent confirmation. The campaign against Morsi culminated in large protests. Egypt's military estimated that around 32 million people participated, describing them as the target demonstrations in the country's history. However, outside, observers disputed this figure, suggesting the actual number of protesters was likely much lower, perhaps between 1 and 2 million nationwide. Critics of Morsi accused him of becoming increasingly authoritarian and of advancing an Islamist political agenda while disregarding secular opponents and legal norms. Public anger had been building for months, especially after Morsi issued a controversial constitutional declaration that temporarily expanded his powers over the judiciary before a new constitution was adopted. 3 days after the demonstrations, the Egyptian military removed Morsi from office. On July 4th, Adli Mansour was appointed interim president, bringing an end to Morsi's presidency and marking a major turning point in modern Egyptian politics. And on June 30th, 2019, the 2019 Korea's United States DMZ summit was held at the Korean Demilitarized Zone between North Korean Chairman Kim Jong-un, US President Donald Trump, and South Korean President Moon Jae-in following the 2019 G20 Osaka summit. At 3:45 p.m. local time on June 30th, Donald Trump briefly crossed into North Korea, becoming the first sitting US president to step onto North Korean territory. The meeting was also notable because it marked only the second occasion since the end of the Korean War in 1953 that a North Korean leader had entered South Korean territory following the 2018 Inter-Korean Summit. Several senior White House advisors attended the event, including Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. Later, Ivanka and Harry B. Harris Jr. met with Kim Jong-un in a gathering that was later shown on North Korean television. Well, that's all the events I have for today. And these are the last historical events for June. If you like what you hear, don't forget to leave a comment down below and subscribe. This is Stephen Luke, and I'll see you next time for another history update.